Hey guys, Gary here, with a slightly different video for you today. After what I took on last week with the GG weekly leaderboard grind, I thought it would make for a good opportunity to do a different video whereby I'm just going to talk a little bit about the week in terms of my approach, how I went about it, and potential mistakes I made. And then what I'm going to do is show my results and just do a little bit of a hand review session. I've titled this A Week from Heaven and Hell. Reasons being, a week from heaven in terms of the amount of money I made was insane. It's the best week I've ever had. And I got lucky in winning 2 bad beat jackpots, which I'll come on to. And a week from hell in terms of just day one, I got no sleep, just played 24 hours straight. And then after that, it was 3 to 4 hours sleep each day. And I played 16 to 20 hours of poker every day. So I was completely wiped. The summary, I played nearly 100,000 hands, all of reg table. Well, I say all of reg tables. There was a couple thousand hands of Russian cash, but 100,000 hands in a week of reg tables. At times, I was playing up to 24 tables. It felt like the good old days. That was too much. I think between 12 and 16 was fairly well manageable, provided they're all 6 max or 4 ring. As soon as there was kind of heads up or 3-handed, it got trickier. And I played, 114 hours of poker, which, like I said, anywhere between 16 and 20 hours each day. For 6 days. Sunday, I didn't need to play in the end because I couldn't catch second place. As you can see, I came third in the end for a nice prize of 16,000. Whereas I was playing more in the early part of the week because I had a chance of coming second, but then the 2 above me who are playing PLO and short deck, I think, have an unfair advantage because just winning those daily leaderboards and getting the big points is a lot easier than in Hold'em. In terms of winnings from the games, I'll share my results when I load up Hold'em Manager after this PowerPoint, but I won 4,000 in game. My goal at the start of the week was that I thought if I could break even or somewhere around break even, then it'd be a big profitable month with the weekly leaderboard prize, the daily leaderboard prizes, and the cashback I'd get. So actually turning a profit was really nice. But like I said, I'll talk more about my game and my results when I bring up Hold'em Manager. Cashback really good. Obviously the bad beat jackpots were insane. I got really lucky. That's 3 in 2 weeks I've had now in November, and it was due, to be fair, because I haven't won one for 2 million hands, and I think you're supposed to win one every 500,000 hands or something like that, I was told. Don't quote me if that's accurate or not. It's just what I was told by someone. So I was due, and these things do all tend to come in waves. It happened to me at the start of 2024 when I won 2 in a month and haven't won one since then. Daily leaderboard prizes, I won leaderboards constantly every day. Nice prizes there. And just a total profit of nearly 93k, which is just absolutely insane for a week of poker. And considering I only made 4,000 on the tables as well, it shows that there's different ways of going about making money in poker. Now, I'm not saying that doing this is going to work well for a lot of people, because I think a lot of people who will struggle to make profit at the tables are like playing too many tables and losing too much of the tables is not going to be beneficial in terms of how much you actually make in rate back. So it's basically about finding a balance, is what I guess I'm trying to say. Like how much volume can you play whereby your game and your results don't suffer too much, and finding that balance just ultimately to make as much money you can in poker. It's nice to have pretty graphs and pretty stats, but ultimately we want to make as much money as we can from the game. So during this week, at times my red line was just tanking because I was playing too many tables and couldn't concentrate on the small spots. But ultimately I was making money, and that was the goal of this week. I'll move on to my game plan. So my approach was to win the 1k of 500 NL reg table daily leaderboards. I didn't really want to play 2k because I've not played those stakes for a long time. People who follow my videos know the reasons why I just play at mid stakes these days. So I won't go into that again. And win the 1k of 500 anti-game, so the full ring daily leaderboards as well. So I was playing 4 formats, and then if I had time, At any point, I would play some Russian cash just to get the extra points for a minimum prize. But ultimately, I was not playing Russian cash. I was not playing 2K. 2K because I don't want to play those stakes when I'm not playing my best. And Russian cash, just the fast pace of it, would have been a huge distraction, as well as the reg tables. So like I say, just dependent on when the games are running and things like that. I was playing up to 24 tables, which was too many. And the mistakes I made, trying to win all 4 was a mistake. Just because of how top heavy the daily leaderboard points are, I would have been better off trying to win 2 and coming like 4th or 5th in 2, which is relatively easy. And then just getting more sleep and playing better. I think that would have been a better balance overall, and I'd have still been able to come 3rd in the leaderboard. I think I was just kind of slightly baited by trying to come 2nd or 1st, where I had an outside chance, that I was playing too much at times. Another mistake was playing 1K late in the day after playing for like 15 hours or 12 hours. What I should have done and will do in the future if I ever do this type of thing again is play the highest stakes when I'm fresh in the mornings if the games are running. And then the less important, easier stuff I'd play later on in the day, so like the 500 an hour, maybe the full ring, which just is slower paced. And I also just played too much heads up and 3-handed just to try and get extra points in quickly and win the daily leaderboards. But ultimately, when I was 16 tabling and 2 or 3 of those were heads up against good regs, I was just getting crushed red line wise because I wasn't focusing on the pots and just like seeing, hands that are pure opens or, pure calls or whatever in heads up games. I was just snap folding them because I would just see, Queen 4 offsuit, for example, and just fold it and not open the button. Okay, in terms of my actual strategy, simple strategies, I think that's going to be pretty obvious. When I was playing this amount of volume, one of the big goals I had was basically preserve mental energy and not get fatigued easily. So make the poker as simple as possible, whereby I could just click a button, move on, click a button, move on, click a button, move on. So there was low mixing, if any, pre-flop. I would play 3-bet or fold in most spots unless there was a very strong reason not to, mainly in the ante games. Like playing the ante games as well, the full ring games, was tricky because they play so different. And it took me a little while to get used to the metas. I haven't played those formats before. And they are just like the Wild West. You have to engage your poker brain. You have to be adaptable. So having set strategies is impossible in those games. RNGs were used very rarely. And post-flop, I just used 1 street. So it was just very simple strategies. And I accepted that there would be an EV loss, particularly against good regs in 1K by having this strategy. But I just wanted to play something that was executable when I was falling asleep at the screen and not just have to think too much. So therefore I could focus more on the important stuff. So focus on 3-bet, 4-bet pots that were happening, focus on big river decisions I had, rather than whether King Jack offsuit is a 3-bet call or fold pre-flop, which ultimately makes just no scrap of difference whatsoever in the grand scheme of things. And then focus on hard exploiting the recreationals, like where are the recreationals, and doing what I need to do against them, because that's where 90% of the money is coming from in poker. So I realized I was probably giving away more of an edge to the regs in what I was doing, but the goal was just to, like I say, make as much money this week and not worry as much about the fine, small details. And avoid marginal decisions versus the stronger regs. Just kind of, the plan was to stay out of their way a little bit when I didn't need to get involved. Because when I was only 9 to 12 tabling, when there was low traffic, I could play more of my A game, if you like. But when I was 16 to 20 tabling, that's when things got very simple in terms of how I went about it. So what I'm going to do now is bring up Holder Manager and my results, and then we'll go through some hands. So here's my results from the week. As you can see, the formats I played there, a little bit of Russian cash, 2,500 hands, and then mainly 500 in our reg tables. And then, 1K, 2.5 full ring and 5.10 full ring, the ante games. Overall, really, really happy with these results. As you can see, my win rate is around 1 big blind. My EV was nearly 10K. And just considering the kind of the volume I put in, the amount of tables I was playing, 0 table selection, playing anyone and anything, long hours, tired, no sleep, etc. I'm really happy with these results. I started off on a really big heater. Day one, I was about 20k up. And then I just kind of plateaued. I think the peak was about 30k up. And then I just kind of plateaued for a few days. And then I had one really sick session on day 5, which there was a few punts in there from me for sure. Like as the week went on, I definitely waned and started playing poorly. And I think it's kind of understandable. And I do cut myself a little bit of slack just because of what I was trying to do and the volume I was playing, that there was going to be times where I did just make mistakes and there was huge slippage and things like that. But it just got a bit too extreme at one point where I was just not engaged at all and just timing out, just like staring at the screen and not reacting. Ridiculous things like that I wouldn't advise to anyone. But I just kind of like these challenges and like pushing myself at times. And, you know, poker is a great business, a great kind of job in that it gives you so many good, cool things like freedom and flexibility to work your own hours and stuff like that. But I think a lot of people kind of do just want it on a plate and want to be spoon-fed answers and how to beat games, and are not willing to put in the grind and work hard. And I think it's still an industry where you get what you deserve. So work hard, get involved in the games, would be my advice, and push yourself, see what you're capable of doing. Don't take the easy option, which I think is just a problem in society all round, but that's another conversation at all. So yeah, and the bad run I had obviously all happened at 1k, both on the reg table 6 max and the anti games. And I've actually got a little image of that session here. As you can see, the session was going well, and then just all of a sudden just spiraled downwards. 20k swing in 4k hands, which wasn't much time at all. That would have been a couple of hours, a few hours. And yeah, just couldn't win a pot. Like just running into coolers, getting sucked out on everything like that. You see the EV was 7.5 down compared to the 15 down I actually was. But these things happen. It's variance, it's low sample stuff. It's to be expected. I just haven't really had a sick run like that for a long time, both monetary gain as well, just because I don't play a huge amount of 1k. But yeah, overall really happy with the results. And we'll go into the hand replayer now. 3-bet pot, blind be blind. I 3-bet. We're 150 big blinds deep here. I'm just going to, when I get deeper stat, I'm just going to favour 3-betting. We still can 3-bet the big blinds polar in position. Out of position, you want to choose more linear hands that play well deep. However, I am just going to favour more suited hands and suited aces when we get deeper, particularly because we can call 4-bets easier with suited aces. Like blind be blind, you're not folding them anyway, but they just played better deep because you get to win stacks, like cooler people, flushes, things like that. It's not like 100 big blinds where people in 4-bet pots are just going to see bet jam turn with jacks and queens and you don't get to realise your equity and things like that. So I 3-bet. Opponent leads into me on this board. I don't think this board's as good as he probably thinks in this spot, blind be blind, just because I do 3-bet a lot of this stuff. If it's single raise pot, big blind V, early position, then yeah, leading a ball like this is obviously it's good because it's going to hit your range more than the early position. But 3-bet pot, blind be blind, I'm 3-betting 7-6 suited, 6-5 suited, 4-5 suited, all probably pure at this stack depth. As well as also like 8-5 suited, 5-3 suited. All these hands are in there. So I don't think he just gets to donk this board too liberally. Anyway, I think our hand is just a pure call. I don't think there's anything else to do here. If I am going to raise flush draws, I'm probably going to choose my like ace-5, ace-8, ace-3 flush draws, whereby I've got the additional equity of a straight draw, as well as I'm blocking more of opponent's flush draws, just not having the 10, so he can have 10-9, 10-queen, 10 jack, 10 king of clubs. Whereas with this combo, I think calling is just the obvious play. Turns a queen. I think we can bet or check here. I like betting this one in hindsight this deep because we can still call check raises. Whereas if we were shallower, getting check jammed on would be pretty horrible with a hand like this. But I decided to just check back. I am going to play this spot quite cautiously as well with my value hands and check back as well. River, we get a lead for quarter pot. We just have a standard raise, just going 4x. I think it's fine. And we got jammed on. So our hand's basically a bluff catcher now. And my thought process here was that how many full houses he has compared to how many like potential bluff combos. So he's just got heaps of potential like 7-8s, ace-7s, ace-6s, 6-5s, 4-5s, ace-4s, king-7s, king-6s, like just a lot of pair straight draw type stuff that leads the flop, checks the turn, leads spawn the river in his range, compared to the nut hands he's got, i.e. 7, 6s, 4s, that are going to want to take this line where he leads spawn the flop. They're sometimes going to want to check raise, checks the turn. They're sometimes going to want to, like, they're going to want to bet themselves a lot of the time still. Whereas his line just feels like it's more of those hands that I mentioned. And then when he gets raised on the river, I basically had no full houses. I don't think I checked the turn with any sets or any of my, say I have queen 7, queen 6, not that I do. I just don't think I'm checking ever. So I'm going to be quite capped at nut flushes here. So he does have a full house advantage in that respect. So, but I do think it's just too easy to shove this spot with all sorts of potential nice looking bluff candidates. So I did call, and unfortunately did have it this time. So fair play to him for taking this line, and it's not a line I would expect to see with a hand like this, as I mentioned the reasons before from a lot of regs, but this guy's a good player. I still think my call is fine, like, because I don't really get this far with any better hands. Like, I don't think having a queen block is that relevant because he doesn't have like queen 7 or queen 6 or queen 4, I don't think. And I just don't have any other relevant blocking hands. Like ace 6 of clubs is obviously the nut one. But that's really the only combo I'm raising the river with for value that would then block full houses, because I'm not going to raise the river with a7. I can't have a7 of clubs. So a6 of clubs is literally the only one. Or if I had 6-5 of clubs, king 6 of clubs, I guess these hands. But basically this is close to top of my range with the way the hands played out. So I don't think I get to fold it that much, particularly as I mentioned. I just feel like even though he shows up with a full house here, I stand by the fact that he has a lot more potential bluff candidates in his range than value hands. Just what his range looks like, as well as the way he's played the hand. Now he's still got to actually bluff those bluff candidates. Whereas like he's always obviously shoving his nuts here, but how many of the 7, 8, 6, 5s is he actually shoving? So that's a consideration. But overall, I'm content with this play and call. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Next hand, we call 4-bet queens. Some of these I don't remember, so I'm going to have to think about them on my feet. We get this board, which isn't as bad looking as you'd think, because it's a cold 4-bet pot, so it does rule out some of his sets he has here. So he's probably just going to be more weighted towards having... He has 10s pure, but not 6s and 8s pure. He has a lot of like 8, 9, not 8, 9, 6, 7 suited, 6, 5 suited, pocket jacks. Aces he has, although he will 5-bet them sometimes when we're this deep. And a lot of like ace jack suited, ace king off, ace queen suited. Anyway, I think my hand just wants to kind of play a 2-street game here. So on a board like this, I am using the half pot sizing is my strategy. And this one, I think, just wants to bet always. I could go for check raises with other hands. Aces with a spade specifically doesn't necessarily need to bet as much, needs less protection, but I think queens is just a hand that wants to bet here for value, protection, setting up a turn shove. We get the jack of spades on the turn, which is one of the worst cards, I would say, just because pocket jacks, we now can't get called by pocket jacks when we shove and win. He has a little bit of jack 10 suited. He has a lot of pocket nines with a spade. However, with the queen of spades, I think I just really want to see a river card with my hand, because we have a lot of equity here that we can suck out basically and beat a set, beat aces no spade, all this type of stuff. So I decided to check. Opponent bets a quarter pot. I think my hand's just an easy call, and then just kind of check the side on the river. However, we get the 9 of hearts, and it does change things. And I think this is where a lot of people kind of are too robotic in their strategies and aren't thinking enough on their feet and what is the best line and what your hand wants to accomplish. Because this is just a clear jam spot for me, to be honest. Because I just don't think they have, like, there's no value for me checking here. Because it's not like on a card like this, I'm going to get any bluff money. There's very few hands in his range that I'm going to get bluff money from, because his ace queen of hearts is now straight, I'm chopping with. His ace jack of hearts a pair. He's got a lot of 2 pairs and sets here that are probably just going to check back this river. He's got aces that are going to check back this river. The only hands I can think that he may bluff are going to be 6-5 suited and 5-4 of hearts is the only combo he can really have. He should fold those other ones on the flop against half pot. Obviously, I have 5-4 spades. But when I have the queen of spades, he doesn't have many flushes in his range, because I block king queen and ace queen of spades, and they're going to feature a lot in terms of what spade combos he have when the jack and the 10 and the 6 are on board. So therefore, I just think the best play for me is to shove, and he still has to call his 2 pairs and sets some of the time. And I'm going to find bluffs here from aces with a spade, or any aces, to be honest, but aces with a spade, kings with a spade are going to be some bluffs I have. As well as maybe just some ace jack that I now decide to turn as a bluff to try and get him to fold 2 pair sets straights, like 7x basically. So I think I can find bluffs here, and ultimately I just don't see any value in checking, because like I said, he's just going to check back sets and 2 pairs and 7x, the lower end of the straight, probably always on this river. And like I said, there's just no obvious bluffs he's going to have in his range. So yeah, I think leading here is good, and he does decide to call with 7s. So this highlights my point where you want to kind of be really engaged when you're playing, and find these different creative lines and ask yourself what your hand's trying to achieve, what range interaction looks like, and then come to a best decision, if you like. Because I think a lot of guys here who are playing low stakes don't do this, and they miss out on 75 big blinds. Because yeah, like I said, I think people are just going to click call here a lot, particularly low stakes, like bad players, right? They're not capable. They're not going to fold a set here because there's a certain amount of entitlement tilt that they feel like they've had a strong hand. It's become devalued, but they still deserve to win the pot because they had a strong hand, so they call. They aren't adaptable enough when your hand goes down in value, like when the board changes. So you just want to be putting the money in with your strong hands. And like I say, it is a spot where I can feasibly have bluffs. Realistically, I'm probably value heavy. Yeah, that's enough of that one. Next hand, ace queen offsuit. I don't like this one. 3-bet, small blind me cut off. He calls. I decide to check this time. Again, this was early on when I was kind of pretty tuned in and just decided to play more of a mix of this hand, whereas later on when I was getting really tired, I just played more simple strategies where I would just kind of range c-bet a lot of the time. But I decided to check. Opponent checks back, 5 of clubs. Our hand can do whatever it likes, I think. I decided to check again. Opponent bets 3/4. We have an easy call. River 10 of hearts. Opponent shoves for nearly 2x. And I called in game, but in hindsight, I think this is a fold. I just don't see enough bluffs in the opponent's range here. It looks like my hand's a really good hand to call with because I'm blocking flushes. I'm blocking ace-10 suited. There's only one combo left of that. So my hand looks good, but to make this a call, opponent's going to have to get very, very creative to find bluffs. He's going to have to bluff turn and river with just like, because he doesn't have very many offsuit hands. He might have king, queen offsuit and that's about it. And I have the queen of clubs, so I block that. So he's going to have to be bluffing here with just hands that have no clubs in them whatsoever. Or like pocket 7s, 8s, 4s, 3s, deuces with a club. And I think a lot of those hands stab the flop anyway. So I just think he gets to the river here with a lot of the flushes like the king jack, the king 10, the 10 jack. He hits some 2 pairs, some straights on the turn. He has some trapped sets on the flop. He has ace king a lot of the time. So for this price, I think I should just fold this. And if I fold this, then you could argue I'm probably overfolding. But I do have ace-10 suited. I do have aces. I do have some ace king with the king of clubs. I do have some flushes. So actually, I don't necessarily think I need to call this for this price. And no surprise, the opponent does show up with the straight. So even though on the face of it, this hand does look like a good bluff catcher, the price I was getting was terrible. And like I say, I think it's hard for people to find bluffs in this spot because a lot of the hands that they're going to need or want to bluff to make my call profitable, I believe, are just going to take their showdown or equity on the turn, i.e. 7s, 8s of a club, 6, 7, and 9, 8. I think these hands, unless I'm playing against really top players who are going to find these extra bluffs, I think a lot of the time these hands are just not bluffing, not for the 2 streets and the sizes used anyway. So yeah, I think I should have folded this one. 4-5 suited, we call a 3-bet, deep stacked, 200 big blinds deep. Check call the flop. I'm just going to favour check raising here with my 4-5 of diamonds and hearts. 6 of hearts, opponent bets 2/3 or 3/4-ish. And I decided to check raise here. First, few reasons. Firstly, it's just a nice spot for the button to barrel here because it looks like I've got a litany of 7s through queens that I'm going to fold, as well as he could just be lining up a triple to get me to fold my missed flush draws as well. So I don't like check calling out position with a draw this week. I don't like check folding though. So therefore I landed on raise because I think firstly I get a lot of auto folds from his bluffs, either turn or river from his missed flush draws. And I also just think I get heaps of credit for this line. And it makes sense, right? I've got a lot of 6x, like 6-7 suited, 6-5 suited. I say a lot. I've got 6-7 suited, 6-5 suited. So yeah, I just think I get a lot of credit. It's not really, probably an under bluff line. Opponent calls, and I think just unblocking missed flush draws, as well as, like I say, it just going to be under bluff because now opponent's going to think that I'm going to give up my flush draws, particularly on the queen, because a lot of them are going to have a pair. So I get auto folds from his missed flush draws. I get credit for repping strong hands here. So I think really I'm only going to get called by pocket kings and the 6x he may have, which I block 6-5 suited. So if I have 5-7 spades here, this is better, but I just don't have 5-7 spades. I just think this play is credible and works well, and it's quite nice, quite cool. In a spot where it's really, really hard to find bluffs, I think this one is going to be a decent One, to balance the times where I do just have the nuts.